this course on the Custom Cabinet Planner. Today we will continue looking at the various sections of the Procedures page, starting with the Ballpark Estimate section. Keep in mind that all of this is intended as a starting point, a template to be edited, crafted to fit your company and your processes. All the headings can be edited, all the sections can be moved. You can change anything and everything to suit you and your company. So let's begin. So we'll open up the Ballpark Estimate or use our table of contents to get to it first. And then we will open the Ballpark Estimates toggle. And just so you can see very quickly how I can reorganize these if I needed to change the order of this sequence, I can simply grab the 6 dots, slide that down. You see the blue line ends up under that one. That's where it would drop, or there, anywhere in between. And then if you just want to change the title to something else, just backspace that out and retype it. Typically, I will open each of these sections with a helpful tip if I think it was relevant or helpful to those that are using it. So let's jump into this first section of setup, and we'll start kind of talking about just the highlights. I'm not going to touch on every checkbox, bullet point, numbered item, etc. I'm just going to point out the areas that I think are incredibly helpful in giving your team members visibility into your projects. Everyone knows what everyone else knows, with the ultimate objective being that everyone knows what to do and when and how to do it. Everyone pulling the rope in the same direction. So the very first thing we see here is this project data field. Because we're likely meeting with the client at this ballpark estimate phase, trying to get the information we need to provide them with a ballpark estimate, which ultimately is just a cabinet quantity, which could be drawn from blueprints. So you see we would upload any blueprints they provided us with here, or drawings or sketches or specifications. Even if it's just pictures of their existing kitchen, something to tell us approximately how many cabinets will be in the room or rooms, so we can get them this ballpark estimate, which is a range of prices, and we've talked about that previously. So this section, this project data, is new. We mentioned that in the last video. The objective here is to gather project specific notes here, not room specific, but project specific. We're trying as early as possible in these early meetings, and you're reminded each time to gather this data, this gate code, garage code, door code, entry door width, and then the electrical panel location and the water shutoff location. We have multiple times had members of our Good Profit group, True 32 guys, just cabinet makers that I've been affiliated with over years, who have accidentally punctured a water pipe while installing cabinetry. And if you know where the water shutoff is and have your tool available and ready and know where it is, you can limit the damage that is produced by that. So we're trying to gather this information early as possible. And now when we step down to the processes area, this is actually a portal into the projects. Again, I'm not going to touch on each one of these bullet points. These are just instructions on how I would go about doing this. But we could start a new project from here, not have to go to the projects database to do this. We could just start from here, say we want a new project by clicking the new button here, or going up here and clicking the new, loading the template, or even going to the down caret and loading the template. Any of those ways will get you a new project. Now again, if you do it from here, if you click here, you're going to load the template and start a new project. If you do it from here, you're just going to start a new project. Once you get that project started, you'll want to go to the bottom of the page and click on the item to load that template, so that you get all the pre-filled in stuff that you'd like to have. So probably the first comment I get from a lot of clients is that some people are just not fans of checklists or checkboxes. But just know that every time you get on an airplane to go fly somewhere, that the pilot, no matter how many years he's gone to school to learn to be a pilot, no matter how many years of experience he has flying an airplane, the first thing he does is go through a checklist to make sure that everything about the plane is right and that he's done all the things that he should do. It's easy to forget or skip a step if you get distracted. So these checkboxes give you that same type of security, that knowing that you've done everything that you could do to do this right. Also, if you go to have surgery, you would probably prefer that your surgeon use a checklist to make sure he's done all the things that need to be done to make sure that you have a successful outcome from your surgery. So keep that in mind, and these checkboxes keep us from skipping or missing a step, whether that's forgetfulness, distractions, phone calls, distractions from clients coming in, distractions from team members coming in and asking questions. They just keep us on path. If we've checked 3 of these boxes and then somebody comes in in, we'll know right where we need to pick up once we've done that. All right, and then in this section, again, I'm not going to cover all the checkboxes. We also have several little helpful things here where we're saying, you know what, when you get done creating this ballpark estimate, if they're not there to review it, if you've got to email it in some way, or you've got to get it to them in some way, there's 3 optional ways of doing this, and you could even do 1 or 2 of these. A lot of people choose to email it, and we've even got an email template in here. You just cut and paste this into your Gmail or Outlook or whatever you're using as an email client. But this template says this is what I would send to someone, basically harvesting these numbers from their ballpark estimate and plugging them into this email where we see these numbers here. Those have just been plugged in, and then we would replace the client portion in the brackets with their name and add your signature to the email and then send the email. That's one way of notifying them what the ballpark estimate was. Many times we'll meet with them for a ballpark estimate, get all the information, and then we'll send this to them shortly after, so they won't actually be there. We could also invite your customers into their project in Notion. If we do that, they can see and comment, but they will have to create a Notion account, and some people won't want to do that. So another option is to send them a link, and again I have instructions for each of these, that invites them to a web page so they can see, but they don't have to log in, and they can't really do anything from there, but it is helpful for them to be able to see their project and see what's going on, where, you know, information you're trying to gather, what the elicitations are, things like that. So those pieces of this puzzle can be very helpful in winning more projects. And in the room status, because we've done this ballpark estimate piece at this point, this is our reminder to change the room status. Now, this project's all the way down to assembly based on whatever I was doing with it the last time I did it. But if I got done with this, you see here this says change the room status to selection. So that's the next thing that needs to happen. And then choose the appropriate assignee. So at this point, I've got a few people in here that I could pick from, but I'm going to assign it to myself. And you can actually assign things to more than one person. So I'm going to take that guy out and assign that next step to me. And then I would get a notification if I was anyone else. But because it's me, I should know that I just did that, so I won't get the notification up here in the red bell that I changed that. And then our next little portal that we want to look into is the win-loss status. So this probably at this point would be set to pending, since we're just doing the ballpark. It's going to start out empty initially, but when you do this first step, you would set it to pending, because I've worked past this several times doing different demonstrations. Then this one was already at the 1 stage, but we'll see where this thing reminds us to change that. So we've got this reminder to change the status and this reminder to change the win-loss status. So now let's look at selections meeting. Not a ton to look at here. We'll pop into the setup, and we see again we have our project data. Again, we're meeting with the client, so this is a reminder that anything you didn't get to in the first meeting, you sent them home with the mission of bringing you back either the blueprints, the sketches, the drawings, the specifications, any of these codes, door width, electrical panel. You'll probably gather this yourself when you're out at the house, but if they know where it is, if they know their electrical panels in the hallway or where their water shutoff is, certainly get it as early as possible. These are reminders to do that, to gather that information. And then when we open up the process area, we have our room selections information, and basically these are all the selections that we would be trying to gather from these people while we're meeting with them. So we would be trying to get what sink are you going to use. This is critical in a kitchen, not so much in a bathroom because they're almost always undermount, hardly ever apron front sinks, but we don't want to end up building cabinets for an undermount sink when they had in their mind a apron front sink. So we always want to ask that question. You can see here we've got it's not applicable, apron front, undermount. You can add as many others as you want. And then what are the exterior materials? What are the interior materials? What edge band are they going to use? This one usually is just set to need selection until you choose what matches whatever they've chosen as a finish color, which we'll see later. But we have door model, door panel profile, door edge profile, door frame profile, short door model. That would be your short drawer fronts, like top drawers or short drawers as they go down the stack. Are they going to be slabs, or are they also going to be 5-piece? And then the tall drawer fronts, sometimes we want to do slab on just the short drawers and not the tall drawers. The tall drawers be like the doors, 5-piece. And then drawer boxes, what material is that going to be made from? What is our stain and paint color? What is our glaze going to be? What sheen are we going to use? This is one that gets missed a lot. A lot of cabinet makers neglect that and then get bit by that. Then what is the door surface hardware? And what is the drawer surface hardware? What crown mold are we going to use? What light rail are we going to use? And you can add as many things as you want to this list, things that you think are important to gather. But then we also have an accessory list here. In this accessory list, this particular project has, looks like 4 accessories. If we slide this to the left, we can kind of stack them so we know that this Revachel 5140 $149 is a trash pullout. This is a utensil pullout. This is the X Series pullout pilaster system, and this is a Lazy Susan. And you could be more specific with your accessory type if you wanted to. You could say it's a blind Lazy Susan or a pie cut lathe, whatever you wanted to enter into there. But this is giving us the ability to enter at this point, while we're meeting with this client, the accessories that they want. This is not really all that useful for actually talking to the customer about it, so we have a little portal here to look into the accessories database with images, as long as you're putting the images in. So this section gives you the opportunity to show the clients the different accessories, whether that's a hood or one of these vanity drawer setups or a floating shelf, pullouts, whatever you want to put in here. Turned legs, drawer accessories, trash pullouts, Lazy Susans, all the things you think are valid, that you can show them a picture of it, and you can open it and you get a little bit larger image. If they need to see that, you can open it as full page. You could add as many images as you want. You'll only see one in the preview, but you can have multiple images showing that, you know, this little closer up view or whatever you want to do there. So, and then you can add details about these items in here, what opening width is required, so that you don't have to go looking for that every single time. As soon as you open this up, you'll know if it'll work in the cabinet or not, if you go ahead and answer those questions. And you can put a link in here to go review the information about that. If there's specifications available, you could put the PDF of the specifications here, be able to grab those. You can link it to a specific vendor, or you can link it to multiple vendors, having an alternative vendor if somebody's out of it. And of course, this one is linked to this job in this room. And we have a brand pull down where we would choose the brand of item that is the accessory, and then what type of accessory it is what's going to show in that list view that we see above here. So now let's jump down to the estimate procedures, and we only have one particular item in here. If you're using a spreadsheet, you'd want to click on the 6 dots in front of this, duplicate that, rename it. That way you can keep this in case you ever decide to use it, and have yours and just rename it to spreadsheet or whatever it is you use, or your design software if you happen to use that. But right now we have Custom Cabinet Estimator in here. If someone's new to your company and you need them to produce an estimate, this is really helpful because it's step-by-step instructions how to do that. There is a link here to the videos for that. You can make your own videos and put them in here, or you can have videos that have been made by the company, or in this case by True 32 Corporation. We've got 3 videos that we think are relevant to somebody actually producing estimates. But if it's a new employee and they need to kind of learn the process, I would say watch those videos first, but then they'll just be walked step by step exactly how to do this, again with a little note of encouragement. But in this case, this is the first time we'll see this supplies you'll need, but we'll see it many times afterwards. And there's only one item needed. There's a ScaleMaster Pro is that item. That's a little unit you can use to roll on blueprints to get linear footage. It's a very helpful little tool. And anytime you see this list of supplies you'll need, you'll also notice that if they're gray and underlined, that means there's a link. It's going to take you to Amazon.com or somewhere where you could actually buy one. If you aren't familiar with it, or you just have never taken the time to buy something that you might need, you can do that from here. And a lot of these lists will be longer. This one only has one item. Then we have our, in this particular case, job specific details. There's several places where we need to identify some job specific information, but then there's multiple rooms for one reason or another, depending on whether it's drawings or estimates or proposals. So we only need to answer this question once, and then we can skip it for all the others. So that's why we put it in a toggle, so we know when we're adding room 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, that we'll just skip that piece of it. We only do it for the first one. So this is actually the tabs that are in Custom Cabinet Estimator, and we're walking them through that process of what they'll do in each of those tabs. Again, we'll have that portal into the room selections, because we're going to take this information that we gathered using this app and we're going to enter it into Custom Cabinet Estimator. Then when we get here, we've got some pretty useful little calculators here. So one of the things that Custom Cabinet Estimator needs from you is linear footage of cabinetry in any particular room. And so if you're working in metric, it wants an imperial dimension because we sell in inches even if we work in metric, but even just so you can add them up easily once your job is drawn out. In most cases, people that use Custom Cabinet Estimator would not use this tool here. They would use it at the proposal stage because we haven't drawn the job yet. We're going to use that rolling tool on a blueprint, or we're just going to try to kind of guesstimate it, how many linear feet there are of things. But if you know, if you have drawings already, if you're using someone else's drawings or you've already drawn it, then at that point you would enter the cabinet number here and you'd enter a width, and you see that this 762 millimeter cabinet is 2.5 feet wide. If we added another cabinet, cabinet number 2, in this case we add a 18 inches. We can add it in inches or add it in metric, and it tells us that that's 1.5. But we're getting a tally, a total, a sum of all the linear footage for each cabinet. So it just takes a few minutes to enter them. And then down here, we would do the finished interior. So this is the unfinished interiors, this is the finished interiors. And of course that repeats in the upper cabinets, tall cabinets, and vanity cabinets. And we're going to skip down to these appliance panels. And again, kind of the same thing we saw before. This is a list similar to the accessories, but this is the appliances that these people have chosen. And if we have any appliance panels, we'll see those here. So we can enter those into our estimating software to charge them for those appliance panels. Then if we jump down to the hardware, many of these sections down here will have another room selections, but it'll only show the piece relevant to what we're looking at right this minute. So it's context sensitive. And if we jump down here to the accessories area, we'll also see the room selections. And again, it's not all of them. It's only the items that are part of the accessories. And we would see that same thing in trim and molding as well. Now if we jump down to the maintenance area, and we look here in the first item in the maintenance area, add estimate to project data. So we're back in that project data portal, same portal, but the only field of all the fields we saw earlier, the only field we see is just the place to put the estimate. So this is our storage place for the estimate that we will send to the client. And we have some instructions about how to go about doing that. And then once we get the signed estimate back, this is a portal into the same database, but this time we're seeing the field specific to the signed estimate. So we're not just seeing everything every time. We're just seeing the context-sensitive information we need at the time we need it. And then we would finish the estimate. We would come down here, and it tells us here, change the room status to field measure. That would be the next step. And then maybe change the assignee, but in this case, let's just say I'm going to continue doing these things, so I'll leave it assigned to me, but I could assign it to someone else or even add someone to the assignee list. Then you see here just another one of those tips. If you follow the intended path, working through each tab and sub-tab, left to right and top to bottom, you should be able to lay your head on the pillow tonight and go to sleep with the confidence that your estimate is accurate and correct. If you have any reservations, then you should watch the 3 video tutorials again. That covers everything I wanted to touch on in this second course on the procedures page. Up next, we will continue working down our sequence of events list, looking at more sections of the procedures page. Thanks for watching.